Hello, this is Dustin with Home Mender, and today we are going to be installing some vinyl tile in a bathroom floor, also known as peel and stick tile. Not the best reputation for this kind of floor. It's favored among homeowners that don't really want to spend a lot of money, but it does give them a facelift for their bathroom. Let's get to it. First thing we want to do is find out what kind of floor we have down now. This one is currently a peel and stick that a homeowner put down, and he decided to have it done professionally, and you'll see why. It's obviously pretty flary and gross, and it's just awful. This one, it looks like he's put down on top of an already existing floor. Actually, 2 layers of floor. So he's got 3 layers of floor here. If you have vinyl now and you want to go over it with the peel and stick, just make sure it's clean and secured to the floor well. You can go over top of 1 layer, get it really nice and clean so the new tile will stick. This one's got 3 layers of floor on it. Nothing's going to stick to that, so we're going to pull this whole thing. We are going to pull the toilet because there's nothing worse than a floor that's cut in sloppily around a toilet. Save yourself some time, some money, and be proud of what you do. Go ahead and pull the toilet. Now I've already valved this toilet off and sponged out all the water into a bucket. So now I'll be able to lift the toilet without spilling water everywhere. All right, now that our bolts are loosened, we can go ahead and lift the toilet. I'm gonna go ahead and set it in the tub. And like with all plumbing repairs, you wanna make sure your pants are pulled up before you do it. Now we're ready to start pulling the shoe molding. Trusty pry bar. If you have a nicely painted bathroom, you might want to cut the caulk line first. Alright, it looks like this entire floor is coming up in one piece. So let's go ahead and pull your existing floor if you need to and get rid of it. Alright, so we got the floor up. Mine was a bit of a nightmare. Hopefully yours was a little easier. Now we're ready to cut some luan, which is like thin 1/4 inch plywood, a nice finished surface that our tile is going to adhere to. I wouldn't try to do it without it. If your floor is at all deteriorated, it is not going to yield pleasant results. Alright, so we're ready to measure for the luan. This one's a 5x6 bathroom. The sheets are 4x8, so we are going to have to put a seam in it. So I'm going to cut this half here and put my seam right there. Try not to put the seam next to the toilet. That's just my personal preference. Not necessarily wrong, I just don't like to do it. When you're making your seam, make sure you have factory edges butting to each other. You don't want any funky cut lines not matching up. We're also going to cut for the flange hole, and we got a vent over here that you can't see, floor vent. We're going to cut for that also. Alright, we got our board cut. Just going to lay that on in there. You know, make sure your floor is good and swept before you do this. Looking good. Again, make sure your factory side is where you put your seam. Lay our other piece in. There it is. Seams are tight, looking good. Now we're ready to secure the luan to the subfloor. I'm using these 1.5 ring shank nails. They're not ring shanks. I'm using these 1.5 inch ribbed, I don't know what they're called. Let me look on the box. Ring shank underlayment nails. They've got these little ribs in them, so the nails won't pull out and start lifting your floor. Around every 8 inches, you should have a nail. All right, I got my floor nailed off. I'm just gonna do a little walk around test just to make sure I don't have any areas lifting or any loose areas, and we're ready to start putting down the vinyl. Now some flooring guys may tell you that you need to put some skim coat or floor leveler in between the seams of the luan. We're putting down vinyl tile, even with sheet vinyl. I haven't found that it's really important. As long as your board's good and secure and it's a tight seam, your floor is going to go in nice and it won't lift. Laying out your floor is important. You don't want to have like less than 6 inches of tile near the edges. So my bathroom is almost exactly 5 foot by 6 foot, so I don't have to really worry about it. But if yours is like 6'3", then you're going to want to start it with at least a half tile, and that way you'll have like an 8 or 9 inch tile on the other side. So the way I'm going to start this one, I'm going to start with full tile up against the tub because I want it to be a nice tight joint at the tub. You're putting shoe molding back here, so you only have to come within about 1/4 inch of the baseboard. I'm using this style here. Some of the tile is directional and it'll have an arrow on the back. Mine does not. I can put it any way I want. But if yours does, make sure you pay attention to that. All right, so front to back, I have like 58 inches, which means it's gonna be near 5 foot when I go up underneath the threshold to the door. I'm gonna start with a full tile behind the toilet and work my way this way. And that way, I'll have enough to tuck under the door jamb. Now I hope you can see this. When you're laying this in here, go ahead and peel your back. I like to tuck it and butt it all the way to this, make sure sides are straight before I stick it to the floor. Looking pretty. Now I know these 2 tiles are gonna get cut for the toilet flange, so with the back on my paper, I'm gonna go ahead and lay it up here and then just kind of eyeball and draw around the toilet flange. And that way I'm ready to cut that line. When you cut, all you have to do is score it with a knife and then you can just break it off. Do the same thing with the front of the flange. And mark. Don't worry about getting it too tight to the flange. You are having a toilet going back here. At least we hope you are. Looking good. Now we can go ahead and continue to run our full tile. For peel and stick, this is looking awesome. Now when you're marking a cut, I like to lay a full tile up there, mark it, and use another tile as a straight edge. Cut that. And of course, make sure your cut side goes to the wall, or the cabinet in this case. It's also a good idea to plan your seams so it doesn't break right on a tile. This one here has a tile that's overlapping at least 3 inches from my seam. That means it's good to go. Now when you get to the door jamb, measure the piece and let it run underneath the threshold just about 1/4 or 1/2 inch. This one's almost a full tile. I'm gonna cut mine at 10.5 and then we're gonna mark for the door jamb cutout. I'm gonna lay it up there and just mark where it's gonna slip in underneath. And just kind of draw the shape here. Here we go, let's dry fit it. Here we go. Now as long as you get it pretty close and uniform, you can go ahead and caulk that tile to the door casing. Now we're gonna do behind the door, and of course you're not gonna be able to see that. All right, our floor's in. I know you couldn't see what I did behind the door, but I can assure you it looks amazing. This one's kind of got like a 6-inch tile look with a faux grout line. It's pretty sharp. It does look like tile, which I seem to like. Now we got to cut some shoe molding and put it in. I'll leave that to you. We also got to set the toilet. Definitely put the shoe in first. This one's got a broken flange, so I'm gonna need to run to the store and grab some parts for that. That's it. You just installed a new floor. This homeowner's gonna be happy, and his wife hasn't seen it yet, so he can tell her that he did it and none will be the wiser. So that's it. If you need help installing the shoe molding or the toilet, be sure to watch our other Home Mender how-to videos. I hope you learned something today, and if you did, don't forget to click subscribe. Thanks for watching.